In this video we're going to make scrunchies. Stay with me and I'll show you how. Scrunchies come in different shapes and sizes, from slim and tiny to big and chunky. But they're all made the same way, with a rectangle of fabric and a piece of elastic. So let's get started. You can use any fabric, but I'd recommend silk as this is very kind to the hair. I bought a batch of sari scraps from eBay. These are approximately 12 inches square and have an array of colours and patterns. These are perfect for making hair accessories. I cut my squares in half to make 6x12 rectangles. The recommended minimum rectangle size for a scrunchie is 3x18 inches. This piece is 3 inches for making a smaller scrunchie, but I'm keeping these at 6 inches for a chunkier scrunchie. And to get extra length out of my rectangle, I've stitched 2 of my rectangles together widthwise. So I now have a 6x24 inch strip. If you have new fabric and aren't using scraps, you can just cut out your rectangle to your desired size. We take the 2 ends of our rectangle, place the right sides together, and we stitch these together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now we have our ends stitched together, and our rectangle has become a continuous loop. We finger press the seam open and fold each edge inwards. And fold it in again. Make sure we have our little roll laying on top of the right side of the fabric. And now we fold the other side of the fabric over, lining up the raw edges, with our little roll nestled inside. Now we stitch along this edge. I'm using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Back tack to start. And as we're stitching around, we make sure not to pick up any of the fabric that's on the inside. And as we reach the end where we've tucked in our fabric, make sure that the needle is in the down position so that the fabric doesn't shift about. We grab the fabric on the inside, pulling it through. Stitching more of the seam as we go. Do this all the way around until we come close to the end. Leaving a gap of about 3 inches. And when we're done, we back tack to secure the stitch. Now we've stitched all the way around, and we've left a gap big enough to reach in. Grab the fabric, and we pull it right side out. Now we need to insert the elastic. I'm using this 1 centimetre band elastic. We cut a piece about half the length of our tube. Now we take a couple of safety pins, pin one to one end of the elastic, and I use another pin to secure the other end to the edge of the fabric so that it doesn't get pulled inside. We then work the elastic through the length of the scrunchie, using the safety pin to guide it through. We can then remove the safety pins. Pin the 2 ends together, and we'll stitch that down using a zigzag stitch, going over it about 3 times. With our elastic stitched together, we can pull that into the scrunchie. Now we just need to close up this little opening. We can either do this by machine or by hand. When sewing it by machine, you will get a slight ridge, though the machine is much quicker. Closing by hand is much less noticeable. By machine, we fold the raw edges inwards pinning it in place. And we start stitching close to the edge, starting just before the opening and finishing just after the opening, remembering to back tack at each end. To do this by hand, we take needle and thread, tie a knot in the end, bring the needle inside and come up close to the seam, a few millimetres away from the opening, and pull it through. And now our knot is caught on the inside. We fold the edges inwards and we work along the opening, picking up fabric along the edge, picking up some fabric on one side, moving across to the other side, gradually pulling the two sides together. And when we reach the other end, we come past the edge of the opening by a few stitches. And within the ditch of the seam, we tie a couple of knots. Pull the thread and the knot down into the fabric. And we can cut our thread. And that's how to make scrunchies.